kick it off with an easy topic. I was watching an Asmongold video, and they were talking about how graphics don't matter as much anymore. And I feel like that's true to an extent, but I also feel like it's not true as well.
I think it's contextual. Like, do graphics matter? Well, that depends on the game. Because if you're playing, like, say, a golf game, part of golf is enjoying the beauty of the course, being out in nature, all that stuff. So to recreate that kind of a vibe, I think graphics add to the experience. But if you're playing a game like Celeste, it's very Mario-esque in nature. It's already 2D. I don't think it's important at that point. That's not the focus. So I think you really have to understand what people are trying to get out of it and where their head's at when they're playing it to really make a determination on that. To that point, I think overall graphics are less important today than they were, say, 20 years ago, because it was a new thing. Every time that you had better graphics, it was a new thing. It was novelty. It was fun. We've had that. So it's like, meh.
Yeah. Every time we made that jump from like the NES to the Super NES, it was a graphics jump, and then from the Super Nintendo to the N64, it was a big graphics jump, and then every single system had these big graphics jumps. But once you started into like the PS3 to PS4, it was very minor detail changes. It was basically just like refining and smoothing it out, and a lot of it was more detail oriented, like the lighting and the atmosphere and stuff like that. But I feel like if you can get a good storyline, good gameplay, and just kind of bring the customer or the player in, it doesn't have to look the best, because they're just going to be enraptured in that. Enraptured, is that a word?
Raptured is.
Like, they're going to be like
enthralled.
Enthralled. They're going to be in that world, and they're not going to like matter as much.
Yeah, so like,
or they're not going to care as much or notice.
Graphics, do they matter? Is simply put, I think the answer can be very quickly attained by saying, did people have fun with Nintendo in the 80s?
Yeah, that's true.
So right there, graphics are largely removed from the capability of enjoying.
But if you look at the graphics from the Atari to the Nintendo, that was, groundbreaking. So like,
and people went apeshit for the Atari.
If it's at the time, in the time period that it was in, like, of course it was like the best of the best thing. But when you're going from like PS4 to PS5, like, it's really not that big of a difference.
Graphics are enticing. That's different than being important. They're enticing in that it's an advantage to the new system. Like, it will draw people to that. People will see that. They'll be like, oh, well, the graphics look a lot better on that system. Do I need to upgrade my system? I don't think they're necessary for fun. And I think people that realize that, that's, where it's like, okay, I don't need to have the best graphics to have fun. I can keep playing my PS4 for a little while longer. Eventually, those will become obsolete too. But, do they matter? Does anything matter? It's all about context.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people that, if it's not like graphically impressive, they don't even want to hear about it. They're just like, no, I don't care. It's bad.
Yeah, and that's funny because those people usually aren't very graphically impressive themselves.
Yeah. To me personally, like, I don't need a graphically stunning game to like really bring me into a game and like make me want to play it. Does it look interesting? Are the reviews doing well? Like, reviews are kind of like not as big to me. Like, if it's a game that I want to play, I'm going to play it regardless. But graphics are kind of like the last thing that I look at in a game, because I grew up with games that weren't graphically impressive.
Well, and to that point, graphics are also the piece of the game that usually takes the longest.
Which I think also, like, with new games and how big of a focus they take on, like, pushing the graphical fidelity of these games, that's why they take so long to come out.
Probably.
Like, it takes them 5 years to push out this game, and the graphics are stunning, but it's buggy. It doesn't work the way it should. So if they focused maybe a little less on the look and the graphics, and they focused a little more on refining and making it a game that works, then I think things would be a little bit better.
How do you think it would do if somebody went back and rebuilt the 8-bit system as a new system today? Like, wasn't like, oh yeah, reissue of the Nintendo, or like they reimagined it. Maybe it uses a disc, maybe it doesn't. But rebuilt the 8-bit and sold that, and had people actually developing games for it.
Well, they were trying that kind of. I don't know if it was 8-bit per se, but in television, they were making a Miko, and they were pushing it pretty hard, and like if you pre-ordered it, I think they did a Kickstarter. They had like physical, I think they were cartridges that you would put in the game, and I think the way it worked is it would dump the ROM into the system to play, or it was like a card or something. I don't remember exactly, because I didn't really follow it closely. I just followed the drama that was behind it all. But they ended up never coming out, and there was a huge backlash on it. It was pretty big in the gaming sphere, like news-wise at the time that all happened. But I think if they like made a system and tried to like redefine like the 8-bit era, like they kind of did like I don't know how they would do it because you can play those kinds of games
Remaster it
on the new systems. So it's like, if they went back to like, say, old NES games and did like the original Legend of Zelda, but like reimagined it in the original form. They didn't change it, make it 3D. They kept it top down. They just kind of sharpened the graphics, rounded it out, but kept it exactly the same. I think it would do well.
Well, and my premise on that is it's going to be real cheap to do that. Like, you could probably sell those pretty low price point if you did 8-bit the right way. Like, if you didn't, involve a network adapter or any sort of like Wi-Fi capability. I would venture to say you could theoretically have a console for $40 or $50.
Well, I don't even think you need a console to do that. It would just be push it on, whatever is out there that has it. Kind of like if Nintendo were to take the Switch or what have you, and they took the original Legend of Zelda, they remastered it from the ground up, kept it 2D, sharpened the graphics, made it like a port, just better looking, even though I don't think that game looks bad. But like made it more modern to cater to like the gamers that tend to play like the indie games of today. Kind of in that graphical sense, keep it true to the original, don't change anything, keep it exactly how it is. And just sell it digitally. I can't talk today. Digitally, but then let companies like, limited run and stuff like that, buy the rights to print it physically for themselves, and they can sell it at the premium that limited run does, or they could make it themselves and sell it as a physical thing, because that's going to cater to the people that collect. That's going to cater to like the physical collectors, and then the people that don't like to collect physical have the option to get it digitally as well.
You mean all 1,300 of you?
There's a little more than 1,300. But I think that would be cool. I'm all for...
I think it needs to be an independent party. Like Nintendo, there's no motivation for them there.
So I wonder... Since you said about it has to be like a third party, I wonder if there is a company or a developer out there that's trying to shop around to, Sony, Sega, Nintendo, and they're trying to see if they'll give them the rights to do exactly that. Take, an old game like, I'm trying to think of something like Double Dragon or something. Like, take that game and, take the first one, and they basically just remaster the whole thing, keep it true to the original, don't change, the way that it's played on the NES, but change the graphics to it, and then put it out.
Why? Just call it Double Lizard.
Well, I mean, there are indie games that are basically direct rip-offs of, said types of games that are kind of playing into something like that.
Because the thing with Nintendo is they're going to want something in exchange for all of that.
Money.
Yep.
A ton of money.
Yep.
Which
and a small developer's not going to have that.
Can't do, yeah. But if they were to say look, I'm interested in what you can do. Give us a tech demo, and then we'll talk.
That's
because then it becomes a joint project, because you're making a small sliver of what you can show them. You show it to them, and they're like, okay, do it. We'll fund it.
Oh, it's like a contract.
And then you get to keep X percentages, and we get to keep X percentages. I think that would be really, really cool to do, because I love seeing remastered games, or even just polished versions of old games, just because I think that's truly the way to preserve these types of games. If you want to play them in their original form, obviously you have the ways to do that. But when it comes to bringing new players in, you gotta kind of have to push it a little bit. Show them hey, try out this new version of it and everything. So, but I mean, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of money, and I'm not the one that they're catering to. They're catering to the casual audience and the gaming audience as a whole, not just me. If they were catering just to me, that would be... I'd have a lot of requests. They'd be spending a lot of money.